I'm very honored to join the convention today, and I'm very happy to work of the European Youth and also to share our experience in student satisfaction. So for today's presentation, I was looking into mainly three percent to you. So starting, back. So I was looking into three main topics I wanted to present today, which are a bit of an introduction of the European Youth Forum, so who we are as an organization, who we are as a platform, how to meaningfully engage young people, and also I would like to present you study results of a study called International Friendliness of Universities, which was conducted by one of our member organizations. So who we are, the European Youth Forum, we are an umbrella organization based in Brussels with more than 100 youth organizations from all across Europe. We are representing the voice of young people, of young Europeans. And we do so by bringing together this diversity of youth organizations. So we not only represent students, but young people in general from different backgrounds. This can be also young people out of education. This can be high school students. This can be Roma youth, young refugees, the LGBTQI youth. So really the broad diversity of young people living in Europe, and not only within the European Union, but Europe in a broader context, also including Iceland, Turkey, Russia, so really different parts of the continent as well. We have a yearly budget of around 3.1 million euros, and we are mainly funded by the European Commission, but also by the European Parliament of Europe. What are we doing as a platform? So our three pillars of change are youth-friendly world. European Youth Forum, we closely work together with international where we advocate for the rights of young people. So we work on topics such as unpaid internships. So the European Youth Forum has a long-standing campaign in this sector where we're trying to ban unpaid internships. They're a discriminatory practice. We also work on improved employment conditions for young people. As you're aware, to the labor market is very important for young people as well. So we're aiming at here as well to work for the rights of young people at the labor market. We also engage in topics such as stability, youth participation, so all items or all topics that are relevant for young people. Our second pillar is an enabling environment for youth organizations. Youth organizations are really a power hub where young people can engage and learn as well. Organizations are really doing an important work, bringing together communities, and also this is a space where young people can learn about democracy, and it's an important space for non-formal education as well, and to engage young people meaningfully in society. Now, our third pillar is a thriving platform. So here we are engaging with our internal platforms, so to say, where we're looking internally of how we can develop our own platform as well in order to allow democracy, in order to engage our membership in a meaningful way, in order to have a sustainable platform. So this is a bit of what we are doing as European. To our next slide. Now when it comes to engaging young people meaningfully, so this is basically one of our main tasks or main roles, what we as European Youth Forum do as well. When you speak about involving young people meaningfully, and I think this is truly important as well, if you would like to design programs or events at universities as well, do it as well meaningfully. So do it only as well if you mean it. And really engaged in young people in the way that it makes sense for us as well as a group. And then I think where it starts as well, you need to create meaningful formats as well for young people. So keep in mind as well, when you design an event, for instance, or if you want to engage young people in the process, young people might have for different formats of getting engaged than other age groups. Plus, maybe a conference format might not be the right way, but rather an informal setting where we can also then bring our opinions on the table as well. And if you don't have experience, for instance, in the area, why don't you include your student association or a youth organization in supporting you of developing these kind of formats as well? Also, go beyond evaluation service. What we very often see as young people as well, we are included, but usually at the very last chain, where we were then being asked about our experience, how an event went, how a process went for us. Much more meaningful when you include young people from the very beginning when you design a process. So why don't you ask already young people when you, for instance, look into an event, kind of topics they would like to say, what kind of speakers are they would they want to listen to, and then you also will have automatically better outcomes of the event as well and higher satisfaction rates as well. And because you gave young people as well the possibility, or your students, to shape the program as well and to really make it meaningful. Also, as we know, when you're working on a program, on a project, on an event, young people also might have ideas that you might not be able to put into action as well, that you cannot realize immediately because it's not in your power or in the power of your university, the power of your department, because you currently don't have resources or because it requires a long-term transformation. So there's different reasons why it might not be implemented immediately. But what is important, your students come with suggestions, with ideas, with demands of what they would like to see happening at university level. Also report back what was implemented, but also report back why something was not implemented and the reasons for it. This also supports you to create trust and a meaningful conversation with your students as well. And if your students understand you were listening to them, that you were truly taking their considerations, that you were trying to follow up as well what they're bringing to you, they will also have higher satisfaction rates. And my last point on how to engage young people meaningfully is as well, remember that young people are the experts of our own lives. If you want to do something for young people, also do it with young people, because of course, we know best what is working for us best. And I think this is also kind of like the motto you should keep as well when working with young people. And now when it comes to specific results on university level, so this was a bit of a general overview of how and why you should as well engage with young people when you're working on programs and events, whatever it is on university level. What does it mean on university level is, so I was looking into a study which was run by one of our member organizations, which is the Erasmus Student Network. I think most of you are very familiar with this organization as well. So they're mainly working in the field of international exchanges, supported through the Erasmus program, a program run by the European Commission. So in 2016, the Erasmus Student Network, who is a member of the European Newsroom, was conducting a survey where they received 25,000 responses. They did not only get answers from exchange students, but also from students who had short-term experience, but also local students. And they received quite a diversity of students were participating as well. If you were looking into the disciplines, the majority, a quarter of them, are actually coming from business and economic studies, so also relevant for the group who is currently in this room. Followed by humanities, there were around 23% of the respondents. And then they were followed by students coming from social sciences and as well engineering, where they had around 18 to 17. And the majority of the students were from Italy, Spain, and Germany. And in the study, they were exploring mainly 5 different areas when they're asking the participants about the satisfaction when they went for an exchange abroad. So they were asking in areas such as European student mobility flows, the host university support, academic adaptation, social adaptation, and the 5th pillar was home university reintegration. And I'm going to give you a quick overview of the 5 different pillars that were asked to the students, and what were the satisfaction answers that the students were giving as well in these areas. So when we look into student mobility flows, I think most of you are also familiar with the flows, and which are the most exciting countries, so to say, for young students in Europe when they want to go abroad. So most of you know the UK is one of the most exciting destinations for young students, mainly as well because of English as a language there. Other countries also include Spain or Italy are among the top list when it comes to the destinations. Well, when it comes to student mobility, there are some similarities with long-term credit mobility. So students who do their entire studies abroad. But there can be also differences when it comes to short-term mobility credit programs, such as the Erasmus program. One of the differences is that if young people or young students go on a short-term mobility program, they're less motivated by prestige or employment-related aspects than in comparison to students who go abroad for a long-term exchange, or students who potentially do a double degree. However, what we also know that 17% of the bachelor students who go on an Erasmus or a short-term program abroad, they're also interested in pursuing a master's degree abroad. So what we know is that mobility creates excitement for more mobility. So a recommendation that comes out from was as well that students, despite their having a preference for a destination at the beginning or before they're going abroad, does not create a difference when it comes to their satisfaction. I can also give a personal anecdote from my experience. I myself did not do an Erasmus program, but I participated in the European Solidarity Corps when I was 19 years old. And back then, as most of the students as well, myself, I also wanted to go to the UK or to Spain. However, I ended up in Luxembourg, in a very tiny country in the center of Europe. And for me as well, I can say it was not so much about the destination, but about the experience that you're getting abroad. And this is kind of like the similar outcome that young people also experience. So a recommendation would be to still motivate young people, young students to take an opportunity, even the destination or even the host university they were choosing did not result for them. Also, what was the recommendation coming out from the report was that you should continue encouraging your students then as well when they come back to go again on an exchange and to have a further experience, also up for a longer experience abroad as well. Then also in the survey, the Erasmus Student Network also asked for the host university support that students were receiving. What is very interesting to see is that it was not so much about the program which was offered in itself, so the study program, but it was much about the services that is causing or that is contributing to positive satisfaction to students. So it's to a lesser extent the studying experience, so the program, the classes that are being offered, but it's more about the service surrounding the studies that students rate when it comes to the satisfaction and that are truly important to them. When it came to feedback, where students were encountering most issues, it was in the area of course enrollment, so understanding when they need to sign up for classes, when do classes start, where they need to go to, basically to understand how the system is working. So something which is not directly, again, related to the study program, but which is surrounding, so to say, the studies. Admission was mentioned as one of the difficulties. Finances and IT connect. Despite European universities have a lot of programs or a lot of IT services that are jointly used, such as platforms such as Moodle, there are still difficulties for students when they go abroad to access the different services when moving to a different university. In general, the recommendations that were drawn from the report were the more services universities offer to students, higher satisfaction rates are also among the students. They were looking into programs such as well as the buddy program. So having a local student, for instance, supporting in integration, who is supporting in figuring out how the university system. There's examples such as housing assistance. Most universities are offering as well like a welcome week, where students receive an introduction to the country, but also to the university, and also language programs are of added value. And also what was mentioned as very positive, or what students would like to see as well, be connected with the local student association or local youth organization at university level as well. Also having this peer-to-peer approach, also because students associations bring a different perspective. They're very well aware of how the university is working. They're very well connected. Okay, when it comes to academic adaptation, what students who went on exchange were reporting when they faced discrimination at the host university, this was lowering their satisfaction. When they felt that they were not treated as equal students, course was then causing frustration among them, and this also showed then in the ratings when it comes to. What was also very interesting to say, students also very much value the approaches being brought by professors. So when professors are facilitating cooperation between local and international students, for instance, professors are creating an environment where all students are feeling that they can contribute as well, and where there's really like this international approach being facilitated by professors. This was also something which very much rated by the students who had an exchange experience as well. Recommendations that have been included in the report include, for instance, that universities should work on non-discriminatory approaches or non-discriminatory environment, and also offer to exchange students to students coming from abroad similar possibilities as the regular as well, like to local students. I think an example I can bring from the European Youth Room as an umbrella platform. Beginning, for instance, of each of our events, we are highlighting the code of conduct that we're having in place in the European Youth Room. So also like to immediately raise awareness about this issue and inform as well our participants where they can report if they face discrimination as well. And I think this is very important as well of having this open discussion and providing young people as well with a space where they can share if they're facing discrimination. Very clear about this. Another example can be as well of having, for instance, a person within the university who is specifically responsible for inclusion, for diversity and non-discrimination as well. So really of having a resource person in university as well, who can mainstream this in the programs, in the activities, in the outreach to students as well, to really provide students with an inclusive environment as well. And another recommendation that was being mentioned in the report was to support mixed environments, is in line with what I was mentioning with Professor's approach. More possibilities have to get in contact with an international environment. The highest as well, of course, the satisfaction rate as well. This is something which is very highly rated by students as well when going on exchange, of being able to meet both local students, but also international. When it comes to social adaptation, what students were reporting in the area was that they were perceiving that there's barriers of interaction, so that there's not enough possibilities where they can meet with other students, from abroad, with students from the local area as well. What is it that local students are perceiving? So local students themselves, they don't feel confident very often of engaging with international students. Very often this has to do as they feel that they are not fluent in speaking, for instance, in English or another foreign language. And what are international students thinking of local students is they often think that local students don't show interest in international students. But we both know, or like from both sides, we know that they're interested in meeting each other. It's a lot about the perception that is not working there. But if we can create an environment where these two groups can meet as well, we can also ensure that this is working out as well. And what is also an important factor is, which is very important for a high satisfaction rate for students, is as well when there is a lot of social programs being offered as well. So kind of like this informal moments where students can come together as well. Can be, of course, a learning environment as well, but it must be perceived as a social program, which is not academic classes, but which is an open environment where young people can meet as well and also come together. I think not only as young students, but also as young people, and also have informal discussions about life in the country, about personal issues, and also having the possibility of creating friendships, because it's a place where they create. What is the recommendation, again, for universities in this field? Also having this facilities for young people out of the class programs, where they can have social interactions, where they can meet fellow peers as well. And also of having actually meaningful interactions, as I was mentioning before. An example can be a buddy program where local students are being matched with international students as well to support the integration and to support of having a good environment where they can meet. The last part, the last question that was being brought to international students was as well then, of course, their home university reintegration. So imagine your students went abroad, got an experience abroad, and now they're back at your university. How can you support as well, like their reintegration? Most students, when coming back to the home university, they felt that there is a gap, and they felt that there is not enough support of coming back home university. Many of them also felt that while being abroad, and while of course they're getting international skills, intercultural skills, felt that they're not really advancing in the field of employment, and they felt that they're missing out in the specific area. So what is important, what was mentioned as well as a recommendation is, when your students are coming back to your university, get in touch as well with your career services. And also, I think what is very helpful here as well, run through the students as well, through the skills what they learned when they were abroad. Very often the perspective that potentially there's a lack of understanding of what kind of skills they were learning when getting abroad. But this was something which was throughout the survey as well, that there's this lack of, I did not gain, so to say, when it comes to labor market skills or in the employment field. Also, what is important, because as I was mentioning, students who already had experience abroad are more willing to also go and work abroad. Here is, I think, a special opportunity as well, where young people can appreciate as well, if they're informed about offers of work opportunities, employment opportunities abroad as well. What students mentioned as well, what they would like to see as well, and what would increase their satisfaction as well. As well, to study the language of the previous university experiences of the country where they were before, to continue studying this language as well when they're returning back. So if you know that your students are very interested or constantly go to one market or to one destination, why don't you also offer them this language also at your university, so your students can also continue then studying this language. So it was a bit of an overview of, from my side, about the European Youth Forum as a platform, of a representative platform of young people in Europe, but how to engage young people meaningfully, and also an overview of a study which was conducted by one of our member organizations, the Erasmus Student Network in Europe. From my side, I would like to thank you for your attention, and if you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you so much, dear Carina. Do you have some questions? Okay, I think